What's up, everybody? Hope you're having a fantastic Friday. For those of you on the East Coast who are already a few hours into it, I am just getting my day started out here on the West Coast. Whew, man. So last night is the first night of the NFL draft, which for me, personally, I love the NFL, man. And anybody that knows me knows I'm just a junkie, man. And I do a pretty good job of staying, away from the biases of my favorite teams. Teams plural, because I love the game, man. I was born and raised in Northeast Ohio, and I'm a Browns fan. So, I am absolutely, without any doubt, used to misery. But lately, all I've known is winning, which is fantastic, to be quite honest with you, and not something that us Browns fans are typically used to. Even in a injury-riddled season where half the roster was on IR or missed significant time, literally, it kind of feels like we still, as an organization, find a way to win, and that boils down to our GM and our coaching staff. And I will proudly say, with zero hesitation in my mind, that Andrew Berry is without a doubt the best general manager in the entire NFL. I can't really express to those of you who aren't familiar with Andrew Berry's line of work how he just keeps making this roster, at least on paper anyways, look epic. Now look, we all know that on paper means nothing. You still have to put in the work, but there's certain things that you kind of can't control, and one of those things just happens to be injuries. So in an effort to kind of prepare for that, which Andrew Berry has, we still have depth everywhere, all over the roster. And that's even without having a draft pick in the first round for the last 3 consecutive years. This year we will pick, I believe, at number 54 in the Browns organization. So I'm very excited to see what exactly Andrew Berry will do. It's tough being in the AFC. So it's just not, obviously everybody kind of knows that the AFC and the NFL championship goes through Kansas City. Good morning to you in Kansas City, but not you in Buffalo. Not Brandon Beane. I hope you drink decaf coffee this morning. What the hell was that last night, bro? Oh my God. Let me just explain my reaction last night, which was probably comical to most people that don't live in my apartment complex. My cousin was laughing hysterically, though, at my reaction. I don't understand, since everybody knows the road to the Super Bowl goes through one Patrick Mahomes. And let me just explain that my level of annoyance when Brandon Beane came up with this fantastic idea that he would trade out of his position, in which a season he let every single wide receiver on his roster leave. The most sensible thing for him to do would be not only to acquire a wide receiver in that slot, but since your quarterback has arguably the strongest arm in the entire NFL, and potentially by miles and miles, why would you not acquire potentially the fastest wide receiver in NFL history to give said quarterback an actual weapon so you could spread out the field and let your tight ends and running backs become much more dangerous and unlock a whole new aspect of the offense, which you have not had before, because despite the good receivers such as Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis and those guys, Isaiah McKenzie in the past, none of them are Xavier Worthy speed. None. Now, with that being said, we do know what an elite speed wide receiver characteristic does for the Kansas City offense. We've seen that. We know what that looks like. It makes that offense borderline impossible to stop. You cannot contain that type of speed with Patrick Mahomes unlocking the entire field, left to right and up and down. That unlocks Travis Kelce, which is a real problem because most teams in the NFL don't have the personnel to lock up a guy like Travis Kelce, as well as having to double team the elite speed characteristics of said wide receiver, such as Tyreek Hill / potentially Xavier Worthy. So, in the year that everybody viewed Kansas City as beatable, so to speak, I don't know if somebody maybe roofied Mr. Bean up there in Buffalo, or maybe he was drinking tequila all night and just having too much fun, having too much of a good time. But what in the actual hell, bro? Why would you gridlock the entire AFC because your Super Bowl window has officially closed completely? The Bills have closed off their Super Bowl window in an effort to, I guess, I don't know, honestly. Like, I do know that they are bottom 3 in the NFL as far as salary cap is concerned. They had available $3.69 million, I believe it was, when I looked at SpotTrack last night. Which, obviously that's not ideal, but also, part of your job as a general manager is to manage the salary cap, bro. Come on, man. It's not like you didn't know that this was a potential outcome that you would run out of salary cap space. That's your job, man. You're supposed to be looking at that 3 and 4 years in advance as a general manager in the NFL, so you can kind of forecast where your needs are going to be. In addition to that, you basically give Stephon Diggs away for a couple of Cheetos that you found in the couch cushions and a buffalo wing, half eaten. And you choose to keep the chunk of the salary on your roster. Look, man, not cool, bro. Again, your job is to manage the salary cap and the personnel on your roster. And if one of them's unhappy, by God, yes, let's trade them. But don't eat the contract, man. Especially with a wide receiver like Stephon Diggs. There's still talent there. You can't sit here and tell me that there isn't one team in the league who would have taken on that contract. Look, if he doesn't want to be there, that's great. I understand also this is a wide receiver deep class. I get that. Trust me, I do. So it's like, oh, nobody's going to overpay for Stephon Diggs. You know what? At the halfway point in the trade season, in the season when the trade deadline comes up, teams that feel like they can compete and they just need that one little piece, they'll pay it. And then make him restructure his contract. And it also makes him happy because he's going to a team that's competing, which Buffalo won't be doing this year, by the way. I am so mad right now on a Friday at the Buffalo Bills organization. It is absolutely infuriating as a human being whose favorite team resides in the AFC. Just absolutely furious with what the Bills organization did last night. You're literally, and I'm just gonna round up here, 4 or 5 plays potentially away from going to the Super Bowl twice in the last 3 years. And I think that's probably a fair assessment. And I might be wrong, but I'm just saying in the last 3 years, you're probably 4 or 5 plays away from being in the Super Bowl. Period. That's it. Kansas City was beatable both times. You lost in a shitty kind of overtime scenario in which you had no business losing, but your defense choked and let Patrick Mahomes go down the field in 8 seconds. Unreal. And then you get these favorable weather conditions where it's like, oh man, great, cold weather, shitty, perfect atmosphere. You can just go in there, play solid defense, cram the ball down their throat. They don't have an offense that is remotely scary to anybody. Get it done. So, you blow that opportunity as well. Look, I mean, at the end of the day, and you can ask, any legitimate, true NFL fan how hard these Super Bowls are to come by. How hard it is even just to get in the playoffs. And the fact that you're that close and you kind of fumble your opportunity, it's upsetting. But one of the best ways to combat that is to reload with younger weapons, not give them to the team that you're losing to in the playoffs. What the hell? Not only that, but you've made it extremely difficult for the rest of the AFC now because your Super Bowl window is shut. You've got no offensive weapons. Your defense is mediocre at best. You're pressed up against the cap. It's just absolutely asinine what you did last night to screw the entire AFC because you can't run your organization the way you should be. Look, clearly, I'm not a GM in the NFL. Otherwise, I wouldn't be making this video on my way to a very blue-collar job. But there's also common sense that has to be involved at some point, none of which Mr. Bean had last night. Shit went right out the window. But that's the AFC side of things. So again, I hope every team's draft was a success. Everybody had a great night, except for, like I said, Mr. Bean. I hope your coffee has decaf in it this morning. Sorry. Not sorry. In the NFC, however, as a non-Packers fan, I will tell you one of the most comedic things I've ever seen in my entire life occurred last night. And that was when my cousin / roommate, who is a Packers fan, by the way, was so excited because I think the Packers were 36 seconds away from being on the clock potentially, or I'm not sure exactly what the time frame was, from acquiring a potentially who could be argued as, the best DB in the draft class last night. It was a period, in my estimation, was that hey, look, Dallas lost a key piece off their offensive line. I probably feel like they're going to go offense here on the line. That was my assumption when they were on the clock. My cousin was absolutely stoked. He's like, hell yeah, I hope you're right, because we're going to get X player. And I'm like, awesome. That'll be great for you guys. Jordan Love kind of showed towards the back half of the season that He is able to progress in the way that a lot of people probably don't necessarily or didn't necessarily see. And yet again, the Packers make the playoffs. They stroll into the playoffs, and sorry, Cowboy fans, ride out on the Golden Horse after an absolute throttling of the Dallas Cowboys, and then stroll right into San Francisco and had that game locked up. I don't know what happened. Actually, I do know what happened. A little bit of a breakdown on the defensive side, which thus the Packers would have been able to draft said cornerback that my cousin was hoping for. But then Jerry does something only Jerry can do. He trades out to the Detroit Lions, which is absolutely hilarious if you're not a Packers fan. The look on my cousin's face was priceless. Probably as priceless as the one that I made when Brandon Beane screwed the AFC as a whole. They were probably equal. So thus leading to the Packers not getting the DB that they probably had their eyeballs on. I guess we'll never know. Because Detroit moved right on up and swooped him right in front of Green Bay. The drama was real last night. So, with that being said, I will say the NFL it's incredible, man. It's hilarious. I'm sorry, I was distracted. I just got a text from my buddy Josh right now, and maybe Sean, potentially. I didn't see what it was. We have a little group chat going on that says, I'm going to have to log off this phone for a couple days because Chris is having an existential NFL breakdown right now. Josh, by the way, used to be a Texans fan, and then kind of after the organization took a funky turn, he is a huge Bills fan. And yes, I did unleash last night the holy wrath of what the actual F is Brandon Beane doing? Why would you do that? And he says, trust the process. And I woke up this morning with like, screw your process. There is none. So, but anyway, so yeah, back to Dallas, giving old Jerry looking at the Green Bay fans and Mike McCarthy and giving them the fat bird, the double fister actually, probably, which was mildly hilarious in any way, shape, or form. Man, just fantastic drama with that unfolding the way it did. Almost collusional at some point, right? Mike McCarthy to be like, you know what, Green Bay? Have this. Take this with you for that beatdown you gave us in the playoffs. You can take this with you. Like, you might have given us a beatdown in the playoffs, but we're going to give you a beatdown in the draft. So, kudos to that move. Again, I'm not a Packers fan, but man, to see that unfold the way it did was just golden. I will also say with the Packers, they absolutely needed that pick too at DB because, man, the Chicago Bears completely rebuilt their entire roster last night as to be quite potentially, at least on paper, the scariest team in the NFL. Assuming, again, that Caleb Williams is in fact not a bust, that he can kind of fulfill his end of the role. Chicago has done nothing but put the pieces in place for him to have success. Weapon-wise, on the offensive side of the ball, it's going to be a problem, man. It's going to be a serious problem. Keenan Allen, in my opinion, has been the best route runner in the entire NFL since Steve Smith Sr. left the league. To me, it's particularly not close. Keenan Allen is, shout out KA13, love you, boy. He's so intellectual. I think, you know, it's a master's class with route running and how he's able to set up certain routes and get to where he needs to be on the field. And I mean, look, man, they already had DJ Moore, who's a young guy, who does have elite traits. Now you draft Rome Odunze, who is just, you know, arguably he's there also. He's going to have those elite wide receiver traits. And Keenan Allen gets to mentor these guys. He gets to sit, you know, in a wide receiver room with these youngsters and explain to them, you know, as a veteran in this league, how certain teams want to blanket coverages and how you can leverage DBs to get the spots where you need to in certain aspects of the field. And, you know, they acquire DeAndre Swift as well, you know, which I feel like there's a lot of potential there for Swift to kind of unlock himself and get to the next level. Also, he's back in the NFC North, man, and yeah, it's revenge season, baby. So the Lions are going to have to see him twice a year, and that's going to be a problem potentially. So, you know, the revenge season is fully on for DeAndre Swift. I'm stoked for him to be able to get that opportunity, and I hope that he can fulfill it. And I'm excited to see if he can truly become the back that some of us thought he could be coming out of college. Unfortunately, the Lions, you know, couldn't quite get him there, and you know, obviously some health issues or whatnot. But he did look really good in Philly last year, so excited for that piece of the offense. You know, and look, dude, the Bears did it. The one thing they didn't do, though, which is a little bit concerning, I'm not going to lie, is they did not restructure their offensive line in a way that I thought they could take advantage of. That's just me personally. You know, I remember I was writing some fantasy football articles several years back, and in an effort to kind of truly get people to see that David Montgomery, I thought, could be an elite workhorse back. What I've discovered is that the Bears just have a complete ineptitude to build their offensive line. They were moving guys from right defensive end into their right tackle spot just because he had played tackle at some point in his career. And it's just kind of, that's what you get. Like, those are the woes, right, that come with being a Bears fan. You know, they haven't had a quarterback throw for over 4,000 yards. I don't know, maybe ever. Smoking Jay Cuddy might have been close, but I don't believe they've ever had a quarterback throw for over 4,000 yards. Certainly not over 4,500 yards. That's guaranteed. And they just, you know, haven't really had the offensive line. It's been ranked in the lower, probably I would say third of the league for many years. You know, I know they were ranked, their offensive line ranking was, you know, somewhere between 22 and 28 for a long time. That's not ideal. That's not conducive to success in the NFL. You have got to buy your quarterback time, especially with those type of weapons. It's that thing where, you know, in the NFL, generally the quarterback clock is about 3 seconds. I think we all kind of know that. If you are a true studier of the game, your quarterback gets about 3 seconds to throw the ball. And anything less than that is how you get your quarterback absolutely destroyed. You're setting them up for failure the entire time. And then, as most of us know, any quarterback to be successful in this league, you have to have a very positive mindset. You have to not question decisions that are about to happen on the field. You have to be able to make quick, smart decisions, and in order for that to happen, you have to trust that your offensive line is going to keep you upright and not let you die, get injured, causing plays to break down on a regular basis. So the whole NFC North, kudos to you last night. You all did what you needed to do, I think, especially the Bears. Minnesota got the guy they wanted. It was J.J. McCarthy. I don't think there was ever any question leading up to the draft. For those of us who were following pretty closely, that was kind of who they were talking about acquiring. I do like Minnesota's GM, Kwesi. I think he's unbelievably brilliant. I think he's the next legit superstar GM in this league. And I think you're going to see that come to fruition. For them to kind of acquire that second pick so they could kind of leverage what they needed to get up higher in case they needed to make a move at quarterback. And they didn't have to, really. So they had 2 first-round picks, and they took full advantage of both of them. Fantastic job. Now you've got your quarterback not making $280 million or whatever stupid money it was fully guaranteed on the books. Yeah, of course, you would maybe like to see Kirk come back just because Kirk is extremely efficient with what he does as a quarterback. Generally doesn't turn the ball over a whole lot and has a higher touchdown to interception ratio over his career. And look, man, the man slings the ball. Give respect where it's due. Kirk Cousins is consistently over 4,000 yards passing, and the weapons are fun, right? So JJ walks into a fantastic position there in Minnesota, man. And my buddy Chris Zach, who lives in San Diego but was born and raised in Minnesota, is a massive Minnesota Vikings fan. He texted me right away as soon as they made the pick. And, I gave him my analysis and breakdown of it. He asked me, basically, what do you think of J.J. McCarthy? I think he's a fantastic leader. And that's kind of what I got was the general consensus coming into this draft. Like, J.J. McCarthy is a leader of men. That's what you want in your locker room, a leader of men. Were his numbers and statistics kind of eye-bulging at Michigan? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But look, man, they didn't need to be. Jim Harbaugh plays a very specific type of way. Those of us who are in the know that Jim Harbaugh wants to line up and punch you right in the mouth, play after play after play, and beat you down. In order for that to happen, you get tough physical line play, you get solid running back play, and your quarterback just has to be proficient and not turn the ball over. And J.J. McCarthy did exactly that. And when you're turning around and handing the ball off to a young man such as Blake Corum, makes your job a little bit easier. We will see Blake Corum go today in round 2. Make no mistake about that. Probably to the Chargers, in fact, actually, I think, who are 5th on the board today, maybe. I have to look at where they're picking at. But, yeah, I mean, I'm super excited for Vikings fans. They're going to be able to lock up Justin Jefferson a long time. And the bankroll is about to unfold for him tremendously. And, look, Justin Jefferson arguably is, probably the best wide receiver in football. I have my own personal opinion that I think Justin Jefferson is the second best wide receiver in football, just behind Jamar Chase. But, dude, I mean, honestly, 1A, 1B, right? Like, they're both, in my opinion, those are the 2 best wide receivers in football. And if you told me Justin Jefferson was the best, I wouldn't disagree with you. Like I said, I personally just feel like Chase is probably the better of the 2. But, look, either way, he's going to be a Viking for a long, long time. Also, they got Addison, who showed some really, really elite talent last year, especially when Jefferson was out. And you got Hockenson, man, who is, arguably, in my opinion, a top 3 tight end in this league. Hockenson is very well rounded. He's a fantastic blocker. He's a very, very good route runner. He will destroy you when he gets in space. There's a reason he is good at what he does. So yeah, that's kind of the NFC North in a nutshell, man. It's and Detroit's Detroit. They just won the division last year, and yeah, they had a really good draft. They just got a very good DB to help lock down the field. They bolstered that defense through free agency. They locked up St. Brown long term. So it's Detroit, dude. They're good, and they're going to be that way for a really long time. So there you go. I will say I think probably the NFC right now, the NFC North rather, is the second best division in football, only shortly behind the AFC North. And we're going to see today what the Browns organization does. So to kind of bolster their roster, I'm very in tune with what the Browns have done. Their 53-man roster it's set. It's there. Any draft pick that gets made this year, for the first time, I think maybe in Cleveland Brown, at least my Cleveland Browns lifetime, these draft picks have the potential to land merely on the back burner for many years to come. It's kind of an exciting time for Cleveland fans. I personally expect the Browns to most likely go not a sexy pick in the second round if they stay there, if they stay put. I don't necessarily know that they need this second round pick, to be quite honest with you. I feel like they could trade it out and get some futures, which is what I would truly expect to happen. But if they make this second round pick, I personally would expect it to be an offensive lineman, just because we're going to be pushed up against the cap a little bit over the next couple years, and that cap hit is coming from our offensive line. Those are large salaries that are coming up. So not to say those guys don't deserve it. They do. They're fantastic, but they're also aging a little bit as well. So you got that, and then we got a young guy in Dwan Jones, who's a mammoth of a man, who showed up last year. That he showed out. Yeah, he should, that dude's talent is ignorant. Should have been probably a first-round draft pick. Hindsight 2020. The dude shut everybody he faced down. Unfortunately, got injured, but such is the offensive line. That will happen from time to time. I feel like there is a massive potential this year as a Browns fan that the Browns organization, and personally, this is just what I would do. I would move Jedrick Wills back over to right tackle. That's where he's familiar with. That's where he played in college football. He was able to kind of dominate that side of the line, which landed him as a top 10 pick. But because of the needs at left tackle, they thought that they could convert Jed to the left side. And I think it's a chance for the Browns to be able to put Dwan Jones on that left side, let him dominate like he was, and show that he can do, and let Jed go over to the right side where he's a little bit more comfortable, and see if he can kind of reinvigorate his career and become one of the best right tackles in football. So that's just my personal opinion. From what I see there, I feel like that's what they should do. Moving on to the Steelers, who I hate with a passion. Hate Pittsburgh, but again, Northeast Ohio, Browns fan. Don't like Pittsburgh, don't like Baltimore. So be it. Cincinnati's less annoying, I guess, but hate Pittsburgh. They did exactly what they needed to do in this offseason, man, and it just makes me sick to my stomach. God, man. Mike Tomlin is unreal, man. You got to give this dude respect where it's due. The man does not lose. even in a season where the majority end of it, I don't know how it finished, all right? I don't, because I'm not a Steelers fan. But they were being outscored. Literally, I think they were in the negative in point differential. And somehow, Mike Tomlin's wizardry gets them into the playoffs. Their defense carries them in. The man does not lose. It makes me so sick to my stomach, man. He is so good. God bless you, Mike Tomlin, man. You are an absolute gem. Just, man, it's hard to say it out loud. Mike Tomlin, to me, might be the best head coach in football. I know they give that award out. Kevin Stefanski got it. But, dude, what Mike Tomlin did with that dog crap roster last year to have them trip and stumble into the playoffs, doesn't matter if they got their booties tickled. Doesn't. You got there, and you did it with absolute less than subpar quarterback play. Subpar at best, I will say. It was something to see. It was pretty impressive. Can't lie. Look, Baltimore's Baltimore, man. They had a ton of losses in the offseason on the defensive side of the ball, some of which actually went to Pittsburgh, which is kind of comical to me. But not in the fact that, Patrick Queen is now... Sorry, I was watching Cars the other night with my kids, so Patrick McQueen didn't mean that. It's actually Patrick Queen. Anyways, yeah, it's... The losing of such a key piece in your linebacker core it's rough. They also, I believe, lost some offensive linemen. Again, I'm not a huge Baltimore fan in any way, shape, or form. I know kind of the thing that plagues them and will continue to plague them as long as there's a Harbaugh there is the fact that they don't have any key wide receiver weapons. They have one right now who's an absolute stud. Look, Lamar's Lamar. He's a problem. He continues to prove that he can do what most people said he couldn't do, which was throw from the pocket only. I was adamant that his only elite trait, which was his ability to run around and scramble, it's a declining trait, and I would never pay a quarterback or a lump sum of money in the fact that this is your main asset until you prove to me that you can just stand in the pocket and throw the ball. I have a hard time offering up that kind of money personally. And I was set last year where it's like, hey man, you can really trade Lamar, get out of that disgusting contract situation that's coming up with him since he's his own agent, and net a massive return. But they, to that Baltimore organization's credit, they stood pat. They paid the man, and he did exactly just that. Stood in the pocket, threw darts, and still yet showed that he is an NFL MVP. That's what he's good at, man. The dude is a stud. But, there are some things that, can be overcome within your organization, and we will find out if Baltimore can overcome the massive amount of losses that occurred on their roster. They did a good job last night of resetting those pieces. They will probably most likely continue to build that defense up, and maybe they get a wide receiver in the second round, because, honestly, no wide receiver in the NFL willingly through free agency wants to go to Baltimore and get paid to block for their running back all day. So, and those are just facts. So, anyways, that was kind of my synopsis, though, for the better part of the draft. I felt like every team did what they needed to do, except for Buffalo. You screwed the freaking pooch. I hope you have decaf coffee, Mr. Bean, and I hope your Friday is miserable. To the rest of you, excited for round 2. Can't wait to see what happens. We will chat again tomorrow about day 2's results. Happy drafting and happy Friday, y'all.